Today on Creator Ambition, the topic is security and how does it relate to YouTube and your online security in general. Today I'm joined by Chaz from Mega Blocks Guild, and she's a security expert. She's going to be talking to you about how to protect yourself online, the common mistakes, the do's and the don'ts, the pros, the cons, that sort of thing. Chaz, how are you doing today?
Well, good. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing great. Great, great, great. So let's just get
Thank you
right
for having
into it.
me on.
Oh, well, thank you for accepting my offer. I appreciate it. And of course, we're going to be working together. This is a nice conversation about security and YouTube. So, can you tell us about the common misconceptions or common mistakes that people make with security, passwords, that type of thing online?
Um, well, one of the most frequent mistakes that I see is poor password configuration. And what I mean by that is, passwords that are on the weaker side. Uh, if you are setting up an online account and you are thinking of what password to use, first and foremost, you want to swap out the default if there is one in place for something that's unique to you. But also, you want to make sure that your password is longer than your standard, 6 or 8 characters. You want to make sure that's a longer password that is harder to guess in the event of some sort of exposure. Um, so you want to make sure it's long password. You want to make sure that it is alphanumeric, a combination of letters and numbers. Um, and that's one thing that I would say that is a good thing to start off with. Just longer, stronger password. The other thing I would say is in terms of password management, uh, sometimes it's hard to recall what the password is, especially if you're multitasking and doing various and sundry things online. So the use of a password manager can be ideal because a password manager allows you to keep your password stored in a vault that's encrypted and locked, and it doesn't require you to remember your passwords in many cases, which is helpful when you are trying to log in and you've tried it one too many times and you've blocked yourself out of the account because of too many failed attempts. Uh, so password manager is good in that regard. So password configuration and setup is one of the biggest misconceptions that I see a lot of people have because they just think that, you know, I don't really have to think too much about it. Let me just throw something in. You don't want to include personal information like a family name or your kid's
Mhm,
name or a birth date or anything like that.
mhm,
Um, in addition to that, another misconception that I see is, just people falling for things that they see online that turn out to be scams or phishing attempts. Uh,
mm.
clicking on that malicious link,
In
that
the
shady
email.
link that came from someone you didn't know that's in an email. Yes, exactly. Something
Mhm,
in an email, something in a text. Um, those are things you want to watch out for, particularly if it's coming from a source that you don't know, or even in some cases, a source that you think is someone you know. So you always want to verify everything. Um, definitely, if you see something that is coming from an unknown source, I would say to ignore it and delete it before taking further steps. Something that's unsolicited, something that looks like it's coming from a bank, for example, and they're asking you for your login information or
Oh,
anything
yeah.
requesting details. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, you want to avoid those and delete those.
I want to actually just elaborate on if you can elaborate on that now. I know banks, those kind of emails that supposedly come from banks, those phishing emails. Banks, from what I understand, will never email you anything to say, "Hey, your account's been compromised," or "Give us your password," or that type of thing. This did you find that a lot of people in general, not just business owners, but new, just regular citizens fall for these kind of things? And is there any way to recover from that?
Um, it is something that happens. It does occur, and usually it happens when you are distracted, and certainly at this time of year. We're in the back part of the year now, and the likelihood of an attempt like this increases because as you approach the holiday season, the activity skyrockets. It goes up by at least 40 or 50%. Um,
Really?
yeah, I mean, so and aside from just doing your standard day to day throughout every day of the year, this part of the year becomes a little bit more of a time period where you want to be more watchful and more mindful. Um, so yeah, being more vigilant and more diligent is key, particularly in the back part of the year when people are traveling and doing more shopping and more information is just being proliferated online.
Hmm. Okay. You mentioned keys. That just brought up a point that I wanted to talk about. Okay, this everyone recognizes this is the key fob to my car. Okay. Now, these give off a wireless signal, of course, in order for you to, you can lock your car and unlock it from a far distance. What happened to me, not happened to me, but I witnessed something happening, almost witnessed. I went into a gas station kiosk, and there was this gentleman inside. He was very distraught. He was pacing back and forth. What happened was, as he was walking into the station kiosk, somebody had passed by him with a device, maybe in their pocket or in their hand, and it scanned his car key fob, got the signal. They were able to use that signal on their device and just access his car, go in, start it up, and drive away. He actually saw them driving away. And right after I heard that, I got this little, I won't even say device, it's a very simple piece of technology. It's just a little pouch, but inside has some protective material. I'm not sure if the camera can actually pick that up. It's some kind of a gray reflective material, but what it does, it you put your key fob inside of it, or you can even put your credit cards and that type of thing inside the pouch. Now it's protects your key fob. I don't know if it's 100%, but it protects it to some degree. And now it makes it a lot easier for someone to scan that. Have you ever heard of these? And what's your opinion on them? Do you think they're worth the money? Do you think everyone should have something like this?
I think they are. Um, and if you are going to get something like that, which is I think it's called an RFID locker, you can get these in wallet form or in a card
Mm,
holder form. You definitely want to go with the more expensive variety, um, because if you're using something like that and the edges are open or exposed, in other words,
mm,
if it's not like a solid sheath inside that pouch or the card holder that you've got, um,
yeah.
those open sides and those open parts of that construction are still like open, to
Uh,
exposure. So if you
yeah.
get one, you want to take a look at it. You want one that's high quality and one that has a 360 enclosure, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like
Yeah.
in the case of the pouch that you have, if it's maybe just a piece on top and on the back, but the sides aren't included in that coverage, then
Hmm.
it um the potential for exposure is there. So make sure you're getting a good quality one is what I'm saying. But I do
Okay.
think that those are a good investment, particularly if you are out and about or certainly when you're traveling as well.
I see. Okay. So I did the right thing. I wasn't just paranoid.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Okay. Now I want to ask you something else. Now I have another set of devices. These are more. I mean, they're also hardware, but I'm not sure if the camera's going to pick these up as well. These are UB keys, I believe they're called. So these are two separate UB keys. One is actually for my client, so I can actually, let me just bring a little closer here. One is for my client. I can actually use this to log into some of his accounts, like his YouTube channels or that type of thing, or other sensitive information or accounts online. And I have a different one. One is for me, for my YouTube channel and other accounts online. So without this, I cannot. Nobody can access my YouTube channel or other accounts that I can set up with these. So um, what do you think about these? Do you think I should get actually more than one for each account, or do you think they are 100%? They're not too expensive? Do you think there are? some that are better quality than others, or they just, just get one that does the job basically?
Um, there's a number of brands out there. If you are thinking of investing in one of those, um, which is essentially like a called a hardware key. I think there's some other names that people use, but um, there's a few good brands, and I would look the ones that you're considering up and just do a compare and contrast of the ones that you are considering. The YubiKey is probably one of the oldest and most experienced out there, so um, that's one I would highly recommend among some others. I've got a short list of those on my newsletter, but YubiKey is a good recommendation if you are looking. They've got like a few different models, a few different form factors, um, including the one that I think that you just held up, which is like a USB form, um, and then some smaller ones as well. But it's a good
Mm,
investment because if you've got multiple devices, for example, and you want to make sure that you're protecting your information, um, it adds a layer of validation and additional security and encryption for your login information. In
okay,
the
so you
sense
don't just.
that
Mhm.
in the sense that when you're logging in, you know, you're providing a username, an email address, your password, and a code that is generated, a time sensitive code that expires after a certain time. So if someone, say someone gets a hold of your credentials and your information and they're trying to log into your account, even though they have your username or email address and password, if they don't have that hardware key, they still can't access your information. Um, so this is that additional layer of protection and security that a hardware key like a YubiKey or any of the other hardware keys out there provide. And so it's definitely a good investment.
Okay, so you definitely don't think this is only for business owners. Everyone should actually have one of these, at least one or two, right?
For sure. For sure. If you've got more than one
Mm,
device, you may want to invest in a secondary one for that other device so that you have that separation. Um, and it's certainly not specific to personal users or business users. I
okay,
think in the case of a lot of businesses, certainly larger corporations, that's part of their arsenal in terms of login credentials. But for work purposes or personal, it's definitely a good investment.
okay. What about when you're in public and you're using, say, a public Wi-Fi, like maybe in a coffee shop, McDonald's, or airports? What are the major risks there? What kind of activities should you and should you not be doing when you're on a public Wi-Fi?
Well, public Wi-Fi is an issue because usually public wireless networks are unsecure and unencrypted. Uh, so really, in theory, you want to avoid or limit your use of public Wi-Fi. And you know, this could be like a public Wi-Fi network in a restaurant or a coffee shop or in a hotel or in an airport. Um, or any area that allows that provides free Wi-Fi as part of their service. You want to be mindful of those, and you want to avoid those, or at least at the bare minimum, limit the things that you're accessing when you're on that the wireless network. Um, and the reason is because of that unsecure nature and that unencrypted nature of that wireless public network. Um, anyone could be connected on those, and they could be monitoring your activities, which is problematic, obviously. Um, also, there could be instances where there are spoofed or cloned instances of that public wireless network out there.
Mhm.
So say for example, you're at your little coffee shop and you have the information so that you can connect up to the internet through that Wi-Fi connection. There could be another cloned instance of that same Wi-Fi network in the area with the same name or a very similar name. So say you're trying to connect and you see these two instances, it's hard for you to verify which one is the valid and official connection in some cases. So you want to be mindful of that because the potential of connecting to an an alternate malicious connection is there, and that's one of the reasons you want to avoid public Wi-Fi for sure, because of the security risks involved. And if you are needing to connect to a public Wi-Fi, avoid or limit your exposure to your personal highly sensitive accounts. So if you must use it, don't log it, don't log into things like your banking or financial information or personal records like medical records or things like that. Keep those things to a minimum because of that exposure. Because again, anyone who's on that same network can monitor and grab your information either by uh, some remote monitoring situation or because they've got some tool or some device which is reaching out and grabbing bits of your data during the session in transit.
Hmm.
It's called a man in the middle attack in some cases. And
Sorry, it's called a what? Say it again.
one term that's often used as is a man in the middle
Oh,
attack,
okay. Hmm.
which means that there's an intermediary that is grabbing information in transit.
Mm.
So when you're connecting to your account, there's someone in between you and the destination that you're trying to connect to. And they're grabbing information as the session is communicating back and forth.
Got
And
you.
if there's an intermediary there, then they're pulling all the same information that you are inputting and or receiving because they are the link in the chain. Uh, so that's kind of another reason why you want to be careful when you are using a wireless public network.
So, would you say that maybe one way to prevent anyone from kind of spying on your Wi-Fi activity, like the traffic going back and forth, is maybe just to use your cell phone data? Maybe just disable your Wi-Fi and then maybe use just your cell phone data. Would that be one way? Or if so, are there any other ways?
Um, that's at least one way to avoid it. If you've got
Mm,
your own personal connection through your cell provider, because you've got like a mobile hotspot enabled through your cell service, that's at least um, something that is specific to you, something that you know for sure is your own and not like some random cloned router that's in the area. Um, it's yours, and you know that at least you're going through some channels that are specific to you that you can confirm because you are aware because it's connected to your cell service. You can also use something like a mobile hotspot. I know there are devices out there that allow you to carry a mobile hotspot that's pocket size. You can carry it in your bag or in your coat pocket, in your laptop case. Um, a mobile hotspot is beneficial because it also provides you with a personal security connection that is separate from that public Wi-Fi instance. So those are two good alternatives.
interesting. So a lot of people, yeah, some of that would be a little bit more, yeah, I guess technical or advanced for some people. Getting the Wi-Fi hotspot. So you have two choices. You can go the advanced route of getting that extra equipment, or you can just go the more basic route for some folks. They'll just use their cell phone data, I guess. Okay, and
That,
I'm
or
told that.
in addition to that, you could also
Mhm.
use like a VPN connection, which is another alternate way, at least an alternate like portal that you could connect up through
That'd be a
using a VPN.
software. Option, I guess, right?
Right, right. You could use like a VPN software that you can load on your phone, for example. And if you are logging into like a wireless network, you log
Mhm.
in through that connection, and it's kind of like it reroutes the connection that you're accessing.
Mhm. Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
not a direct link, one to one. It's like a secondary connection that a hacker would have to route through to get to your device and your information.
Okay. And I'm told that you actually have a story about identity theft yourself. Where years back yeah, you actually, somebody just got your information and they pretended they were you and they had a good time with your identity. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, it was a tough thing. This happened years and years ago, and it's actually the thing that sort of inspired me to get into. It sort of inspired me to get into online and digital security. I was once a victim of identity theft myself, and the person somehow gained access to my information, opened some credit, uh, opened up like a gas card, and they went and they were just going around shopping, uh, going around filling up their gas tank, and I had no idea this was taking place until my bank reached out and asked me if I'd made some transactions. They had noticed some suspicious activity, and they reached out to me to confirm whether or not these transactions were legitimate. Obviously, they weren't. But that was the thing, the red flag and the alert that made me aware that this was taking place. And it was an eye opener because previously I didn't really have an understanding that something like this could happen. But once it happened, obviously it opened my eyes, and it's a thing that inspired me to try to at least provide some level of information for others so they could avoid these pitfalls. So once I discovered that this took place, I had to get to work to try and verify that these transactions were not things that were originating for me. So I actually went out and contacted some of the retail stores and got some information, uh, gathered some documentation that included timestamps. Um, I even was able to talk a couple of them into giving me some surveillance footage. But these things were helpful because I was able to provide that information to the bank. They had already started their own investigation, uh, so all the information there was something that they were able to corroborate to confirm that I didn't make these transactions. Obviously, when these things happen, they want to make sure that they're able to resolve everything and balance everything they need to. But they were able to discover the culprit. They were able to recover the funds. I was able to get things settled on my end, so it was a win all around. But it was definitely alarming and, you know, a uncomfortable situation.
For sure. I mean, I can imagine. I mean, how, scary that must have been. The thoughts may have been running through your head about, am I actually going to get this money back, or am I going to be responsible for it?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, because when it happens, it can take months and months to resolve it and get your money back.
yeah, I can imagine. Now, when it comes to YouTube, I wanted to get your opinion on this. If you're recording a YouTube video, say maybe a vlog, you're walking outside and you're talking, on a selfie stick to your camera. Uh, I say don't record anywhere near your home. I mean, in your neighborhood, you know, don't let your driver's license plate be in the camera on the video. Maybe even blur it out if you're able to.
Hmm.
Um, don't get your house number, that number on your house in the video. Just maybe go to some park or somewhere away from your home, just for privacy and safety reasons. Um,
Definitely.
wh- yeah, what would you what would you advise people about that? Would you say the same thing, or maybe in a little bit more extreme?
Because location information is typically tied to landmarks, uh, license plates, building numbers, so on and so forth. You want to be mindful when you are online and sharing information, or even putting yourself on camera. Your surroundings are important because all that information is trackable and can be used against you. Um, so you want to use some blurring option, like you just mentioned. I think YouTube has some blurring options that are in there, somewhere in their settings. Uh, but you don't want to include things like, ideally, you don't want to include, like, maybe your kids. In some cases, certainly you don't want to show an image or have a backdrop that includes like your license plate or your house number, or again, landmarks, certain buildings that are recognizable and searchable, online within your background and within the environment. These are all things to watch out for. If you are outside and you're, wanting to, in the case of YouTube, do like a video, want to be mindful of where you are and try to minimize the things that you are sharing in terms of information and visuals. Uh, because again, a lot of these things are searchable and trackable, and can expose you to things like data associated breaches, doxing,
Mm,
all kinds of things that could be bad at the end.
yeah. Now, I want to ask something more for business owners. They will more appreciate this. So, if they're starting off in their business and they only have their home address, maybe their business is an online business. Um, I believe there's a service I use this actually called iPostal, where you can actually get a fake address for your business instead of using for your home. Or you can, there's other services out there. What are your opinions on these? Do you think it's better to use a not a it's a real address, but it's not your address, but it's meant for this purpose, if you know what I mean?
If you are running a business, or you're an owner, you're a business owner or an entrepreneur, you always want to separate your personal information from your business information. So, like you just said, you want to make sure that you have an address that is an alternative and that is not public facing.
Mm,
So, yes, a service like iPostal and some of the other mail services providers out there give you a level of separation and some division. I think some call it if you have a business and you are official and you have, like, for example, an LLC or a C corp or an S corp, uh,
mm,
I think they call it the corporate veil.
okay.
Um, and by that I mean that it's a separation between your personally identifiable information and the things that are related to your business.
Mm,
Um, you want to keep those separate for obvious professional reasons, but also for privacy reasons.
mm, okay. Something that just came to mind. I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but I'm sure one question I want to ask you is that I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but sometimes you're surfing on the web. For whatever reason, you're on a certain web page, and a message pops up on your screen saying your computer is infected uh, with a certain virus, whatever. Click on this link or call this number, and we can help remove the virus from your computer. So what ends up happening is that you click on the link, you go to the website, and then someone actually connects with your computer some way. I mean, by clicking on the link, you've now given them access to your computer, and then they try to say, "Hey, if you must give us your credit card number. You must type this type of instruction in." And so some people end up losing $300-400, even 1,000 or more for fake computer scares. And a lot and these kind of things are happening in certain countries. Well, actually, they're based in a certain country, and they're calling over to North America. I'm not going to mention the name of the countries that these things are based in. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. But how do we avoid this? How do we know if it's actually fake?
Well, first of all, nobody's going to. Well, it sounds like you're talking about these pop-ups that can come up on your screen. Usually, if you've got your browser configured, um, it can block these kinds of things that are from popping up within your
Mm,
browser,
mm,
because usually they are part of like some sort of a phishing or scam attempt. Um, so definitely you want to avoid the link. Um, in the case of like something like Microsoft or whatever your service provider is, you have an
they're not.
account set up. And so
Yeah.
they're not really actually going to be reaching out to you and asking you for account information. It's already in their systems and on their servers. So that's usually a red flag right off the bat, you know.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but you can take steps within your browser settings to suppress pop-ups from showing up on your screen, which will
Yeah.
minimize your exposure to these kinds of malicious links. But if you do see something that's a little bit suspicious like that, and they're asking you for tons of details, certainly for large amounts of money, and it's something where it's high urgency and they're trying to push you into this high pressure situation where you have to
Hmm.
do it or you're going to be exposed, um,
Right.
it's definitely something that you want to ignore and close out of, um, and even report, especially if you have like a legitimate account. And this mirrors that because most likely there is something um, that's triggering that. So if
Yeah.
you are exposed to that, you want to make sure that you've got your pop-up blockers configured in your browser. You also want to make sure that you've got some sort of antivirus protection on your device. You also want to make sure that if you see some instance like that, that you close out of that session and run like a virus scan, because there could be something that's locally installed on your computer that's actually, again, triggering that uh,
Exactly.
in the form of like something like malware or which is a malicious program or something that maybe is an attachment, something that came to you through like some email or something like that. Um, which is again underscores the importance of having like something like antivirus protection installed on your machine.
So I like the fact how you mentioned, antivirus software or malware software that's protecting your computer. But I've heard that also if you have more than one, maybe two or three of those programs running at the same time on your computer, they're gonna give you some false, what they call false negatives. They're going to be reporting on each other. So, do you have any opinion on that, or maybe even some free software you recommend people can be running on their computer, or do you agree with what I said in terms of having more than two or three running at the same time?
I mean, like if you're running two antivirus softwares.
Yeah, like there's a lot of them are different ones on the market. Like you're familiar with McAfee, Norton, any spyware, or
Mhm.
Norton. You know the ones, the popular ones, or any of them.
Well, if you are getting some notifications, you want to make sure that you're taking a moment to look at the details of the alert that you're getting. Because there, like you said, there could be an instance where it's a false negative in it, and it's a low level alert that maybe is something that you don't need to take action on, um, or something that is something that's being cross-referenced by both tools. If you've got both things running in terms of antivirus, um, you also want to make sure that if you in the case of YouTube, if you lose access to your account, that you've got like something like a account recovery plan in place, you know, so that you
Mm,
can regain access to account if it's been compromised, if you have received like an alert of a virus. And this is like, I guess you could say this is a way of doing uh, like a um, recovery plan if you have been exposed to like some sort of a problem like that. Account
how,
recovery is ideal, and this would mean like configuring your phone number and or like a an alternate email address so that if you
uh,
do lose access to your YouTube account that you can actually get
mm,
into it again once you verified through those channels.
mhm.
So an account recovery plan is definitely something you want to have in place beforehand. Um, and then in the event of seeing these false flags, yeah, look at the details, get a close look at what the alert is, because it may be something that is not necessarily that is a non-actionable thing that you can just kind of ignore, but just take note of. Um, the things you want to pay closer attention to are those things that definitely have like a red flag, high level risk, or like that has a higher, I don't want to say like a higher escalation, but definitely a higher threat level. If you see something that is a high priority level one threat in your virus, those are the things in your virus detector. Those are the things you want to take immediate action on, take immediate action on, and try to mitigate through something like a virus scan, or if you do suspect that you've fallen prey to some breach, you want to make sure that you're changing your passwords immediately, of course.
Mm.
Um, Trying to, like, roll back your OS or your softwares to like a default state to try and remove something that may have been installed locally. Um, but basically, a rollback of your system, provided you have everything backed up, is what you'll have to do. Sort of like getting another device. But certainly, if you've got some backups in place, you could roll back to a previous instance of, if you're back up to a point that is earlier than that.
That point of
What am I trying to say? You know what I'm
where
trying
you
to
last
say.
left off. I know what you mean. Where
Yeah,
you last left off. So you said a reset point, and you say if anything happens, I want to you set a reset point and say if anything happens, I want to reset back to this point right here.
point. Yeah,
Is that right?
roll back to a prior restore point, I guess, is what I'm
Right. Exactly.
what I'm
Yeah. That
searching
a
for.
point. Right. Exactly. Before everything went
Kablooey.
sideways. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. Chaz, I want to thank you very much for being with us today and teaching us about security, online security for both business owners and for just regular folks who don't have a business. Where can people reach out to you online? Do you have a school community, YouTube channel? What is it called?
If you search Mega Blocks Guild, Guild, um, then there should be like some searchable items that come up. That they could certainly go to school as well. Go direct to school.com and then just search Mega Blocks Guild. Uh, it's under the same name on YouTube as well. So Mega Blocks, Megablox, Guild, Guild.